We don't have the knife.
We don't have the knife. And I didn't press the start on the camera.
Peter here from Modern Cooking. Today I'm sitting down with Austrian artisan Martin Huber from Martin Huber Knives. Recently he made this incredible copper Damascus and apex Gyuto, and today we're going to sit down and have a little chat about how it was made, what inspired this piece, and yeah, just give you some background on the knife. Tell us a little about this. What inspired this piece?
Actually, the idea from this came from a customer order that I had.
Yeah.
It was a full copper Damascus, like copper and O2 Damascus cladding on 2419. And I forged this out on a YouTube video. And then I was like, what is the best way to contrast copper with another like non-ferrous metal? And then of course, like me liking to use nickel in knives, I already had in mind like, okay, copper, black and nickel, like silver, coppery, black.
Yeah.
This combination should
nice
be
contrast.
pretty nice contrasty and should look pretty cool. Then I started this whole thing like while I was working on the other one, not even having it finished, the other one yet.
Like
I already
more excited about this new idea.
Yeah. I started working on this other one, forged it out, and the second I was finished forging the other one, I was already going back and mixing up the steels and already put it into the oven to preheat, and yeah.
Nice one.
Yeah.
Nice one. And so when you were forging the Damascus, it's a pretty interesting construction. Yeah, do you want to tell us a little bit about that? The different components, layers, how that kind of came together, and maybe you want to delve in a little into the process of forging and the equipment you use to actually do that, to get the laminate to stick and all that kind of stuff.
I mean, what I tried to do, because I did a few copper senmais, like kumais and stuff, and I've worked with a piece of copper Damascus from Tobias Hangler like 2 years ago for Blade Show.
Yeah.
And I like the look of that. And I never done it myself.
Okay.
Like I got the blank stock from him and forged it out to the shape. And I always was anxious about like overheating the copper and doing stuff like this. And then I thought like, there should be a way that is easier to forge without having the risk of it melting. Because for the people of you who don't know, copper is a very low heat melting material. It melts at like 1080 degrees Celsius.
Yeah.
And usual forging temperatures for steel are like between 1100 and 1200. So this would already melt. And then I was like, I have this big heat treating oven with like 60 centimeters in length.
And precision heat control.
And precision heat control. So I cranked it up to 1070 degrees. You have the possibility to like keep it temperature controlled. Don't overheat it so it doesn't melt. And so I just started trying this out with like putting it into the heat treating oven, forging it out, and it worked really, really good.
Okay.
And I was pretty happy about that. And so I had this phase like a few months ago where I think I had 3 or 4 days of just forging like copper laminates and stuff because I was so happy that it worked out.
Yeah.
And so pretty much this baby was born. I started with, I think it was 38 or 36 layers of copper, nickel and O2.
Okay.
Forged it all out, milled it out, cut it in two, re-welded it to like 70 something layers.
Nice. I mean, when you're forging in the forge, normally you can have moments with typical steel where, you know, you get distracted, the knife can stay in there for a bit, no problems. Is that the same case with this? It's at that temperature, it's sitting at that temperature, it's not going anywhere, it's fine. So it's a bit more relaxed, is that?
It is way more relaxed in the heat treating oven. Sure, it takes way longer to get to these temperatures.
Right.
As soon as you're there, the heat treating oven maybe goes up like 3 degrees. And lows to 3 degrees, so
it's in the safe zone.
So it's in the safe zone. I could leave it in there for like an hour and do something else, and nothing would happen.
No stress.
Yeah. And then I was like, I know Peter likes this kind of stuff. So I already had,
Guilty.
while making it in my mind, that Peter would probably like to have this one. And so I put an Apex Ultra core in the middle of it because it's a special baby. And a special baby deserves Apex Ultra.
So you mentioned Apex Ultra. It's a fantastic steel. Do you want to tell us a little bit about why it's so good?
Apex is for me pretty much the best carbon knife steel available right now. Sure, it is tricky to forge.
Yeah.
It doesn't like to be overheated. It doesn't like to be too cold.
Right.
But
again, why working with the heat treat ovens?
yeah,
Perfect for this.
yeah. And I started to forge all my Apex laminates in the heat treating oven right now because, as said,
Low stress, right?
put it to the temperature that I wanted.
Yeah.
Just do it. Sure, Apex is a little bit hard on all abrasives and working with it, but when you're finished, you have a steel. We heat treated to 67 HRC.
Yeah.
And
That's tough.
that's tough. It's hard,
Yeah.
and also on this terms of hardness, it is also still flexible enough to like withstand like small abuses,
Right.
and that's what I really like about it.
Yeah.
Sure, it got the classic like all enthusiasts talk about, and pretty sure the viewers out there know it well. Every time somebody writes me, yeah, they pay the Apex tax.
Right.
Because yeah, we makers, of course, we use more belts, so it's getting expensive
Yeah.
for us as well to work with it. But in the end, it's so great to work with.
So yeah, I mean, even compared to a lot of other steels, just to make a mono blade out of Apex compared to 12419, for example, it's going to cost you more to make that knife,
Yeah.
even if they're exactly the same size, dimensions, etc.
The steel is way more expensive, and also like the abrasive usage is way higher.
Yeah.
But in the end,
The results are great.
the results are so good that
Definitely.
I don't want to miss it.
Yeah, worth it, worth it. So this is a Gyuto. It's a general purpose utility knife. Pretty much every chef has one. Tell us a little bit about the profile you made on this one and the geometry and that side of things.
We do all our Gyutos in a K-tip configuration because I personally like the K-tips more and not the like pointy chef kind of style.
No, but it's a subtle K-tip. It's not aggressive.
It's a subtle K-tip, yeah. We did it more aggressive back in the days, but now we're like in the mix of like Sentoku tip, K-tip direction. First of all, I like the style, and also you have a thin tip up here on the profile, but still have like short behind it, enough meat to like
give it stability.
And not to be afraid of like chipping or something, or like breaking up the tip. We did very slight convex grind on these, as we do in the last few months on pretty much all of our higher performance knives. We used to do like aggressive, like really chunky, thick,
more workhorsey
grinds on our knives, but we started to do like kind of more leaning into the flat grind.
Right.
So I wouldn't say it's like, some would call it laser, where this is like far away from.
Yeah.
But it's also not the thick boy characters that we did before. Sure, a lot of people like those, and we still do it if you want it. But we settled more down to a more simpler, nimble, small little detailing knife on these high-end pieces that we do now.
This is more your view of like all-purpose geometry. Can handle anything.
I would call it like a kind of workhorsey, user-friendly.
Right.
So like it's still like for the everyday man.
Yeah.
But also for, I'd say, the enthusiast as well. Enthusiast as well. Yeah. English is not my first language, guys.
You're doing fine. But with the tapering on that, you also have enough thinness up here that, I mean, this section at this end would be very laser, essentially. Down here, less laser. And so there's that versatility throughout the blade, depending on how you want to use it, at the tip or at the heel, like that.
I also did a small little walk out, so a small little walk sleeve in the first few centimeters from tip down. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it really has like in the tip like a little bit more of a
performance focus on that side, or a slicing focus on that
focus
side.
And not like
And this is a kind of strategy that a lot of knife makers have started towards doing, not doing a full walk schliff, because then you might get a little bit of drag throughout the blade, but having that walk schliff section at the front for that extra sliceability.
Yeah, I saw this, I talked with Benjamin Kamen about it, because he's doing it on pretty much most of his knives.
Yeah.
And we talked about this, like we were good friends, even if I hate him sometimes. And we talked about this and the benefits of it, and he pretty much told me like, try it out, do it, and see if you like it or not. Then I started trying it on a few pieces, and actually, yeah, he was right. It makes the tip it makes the geometry on the tip even skinnier.
Yeah.
So it's like really, it's cutting with no resistance.
Yeah.
And the food release on the top, if you need it, it's also like improved by that.
Yeah, so dicing an onion or something like that and pushing in with the tip, it's perfect to get that brunoise started and then finishing off at the back. Nice. So moving back from the blade, tell us a little bit about this incredible handle.
The fittings on this handle are made from house-made Mokume-gane. I made it from copper and pure nickel. So I made it from the kind of same materials that I did on the blade to complement the whole knife. Like have the pattern from the blade going over into the handle. And it is actually my first Mokume-gane I've ever made.
Okay.
And the wood I decided for Gidgee, because Gidgee is a nice dark wood. And it also has these beautiful curls in it, and I'm a sucker for curly wood.
You know I am too.
Yeah. And curly wood in combination with these pieces, I had it in my hand and I was already like, yeah, that's the one.
Yeah.
And of course made in our classic Rukaku Hamaru style. Yeah. So the facets on top, the rounded back. And I also did what I've done first time. There's a lot of first in this knife. Okay. So that's why this is one of the nicest pieces probably I've ever made, because I let my full inspiration and detail to all the details and the stuff that I did on this knife, just put it all into one piece.
No limits.
No limits, just do it. Make the thing that I've always wanted to do, like all the crazy stuff I had in my head, I put into this thing. And that's why the museum fit on the between the bolsters and the handle. And yeah, all in all, I really, really like that one.
Me too. It feels like working with the heat treat oven in your forging has like opened up a kind of new territory in terms of creativity. Mm-hmm. So yeah, that's really cool. Speaking of Mokume-gane, tell us a little bit about how that's made.
I made the Mokume-gane to fit the blade, and I wanted to try it out since I was in school. So I did an application at a higher technical school for blacksmithing. Mm-hmm. And there was this one guy in my class, he made Mokume-gane once.
Nice.
He failed miserably.
Ouch.
Yeah.
Reaching for the stars.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like our skills with Damascus have been okay.
Right.
And he was like, okay, copper. And yeah, but since then I wanted to try it. He eventually did it then. Like half a year later, he managed to do it, yeah. I always was like, I like Mokume-gane, I like how it looks, I like the aesthetics of it. Mm. But I've never been as far to tell myself, okay, you have to do it now.
Right.
And it was always too expensive for me to buy. Mm. Because like if you look for pieces in like a decent size to do end bowl, front cap, end cap, with it's a few $100. Right. And I was a little too greedy to buy something like this. And
also affects the end price of your knife in a big way.
And the customers also pay for that then. And so it would just like raise up the price even more. Mm. Sure, it's worse, but obviously, I had this good stuff going on with the forging of the copper Damascus in the heat treating oven. So I just thought about like, let's try it on this piece. Yeah. Let's do it. And I went full retard.
Okay.
I went full in. I did not just like, okay, let's laminate copper and nickel together.
Yeah.
I cut it up into pieces and made a kind of mosaic Damascus crush W pattern with it.
Okay.
And it worked out pretty fine. I had a few cracks, but in the end, the pieces for the bolster went perfectly.
Nice.
So yeah, and I just, when I finished this piece, I was sitting there for like maybe half an hour and just looking at the pieces like, oh.
Yeah, I mean, catching the detail the pattern's very fine. I might just try and push this up to the camera a bit so you can kind of see. But yeah, it's incredible work, mate. It's really good. Obviously, this is a lot of work, a lot of steps. Give us an idea of, you know, the hours and the pressure in making a piece like this, the risks, that kind of thing.
Honestly, I don't look at hours when I make a piece like this, because if we would charge this by hours, it would be like 3 times the price.
Okay.
But it took me a few days. I actually filmed all the process of the making of this one.
Right.
There's actually 3 YouTube videos on my channel how I made this.
Check that out.
1 full focus on the Mokume, and 2 full focus on forging the blade and grinding it, and then 1 on full focus of adding all the pieces together.
Right.
So, and this was a process. I didn't do it all at once. I forged the blade in February. I did all the did all the heat treating a few days later. The grinding took a few weeks to me being mentally able to like get risky on this thing, and start to grind on it. But it actually went pretty well. And yeah, the whole putting the pieces together, like all the bolsters and stuff. I think we talk about a week's worth of work, at least, on just this piece.
And a fair bit of stress.
And a fair bit of stress. And a fair bit of editing.
You've been making knives for about 15 years?
13, 14 years, something like this.
Getting close.
Yeah.
As you gain a lot of experience through that time, if you're a maker trying to think about making something like this, what kind of skills do you think you need to develop over those years to get to a point where you can even just consider making something like this?
It's different for everybody, of course. But honestly, everybody who has a feel for steel, a feel for fire and stuff should be able to sooner or later produce something like this.
It takes like muscle memory and experience to get to that stage where you just
a lot of experience
have a feel to treat it the way it needs to be.
It has a lot. Yeah, you have to get the kind of skill of knowing how to work with these materials, especially when working with copper.
It's temperamental.
As I said before, you have this small window of forgeability on copper.
Yeah.
And if you go over that window of temperature, it's done.
Yeah.
And this can happen any time of the work process. It's not like just like classic Damascus, you start forging and you have a delamination in the beginning. Oh no, it didn't come together or something. I've been too low. Okay, yeah, let's throw it away. With this piece, you have it like until the very last second that you work on it.
Yeah.
That you could be just like brain shut off for a few seconds and suddenly, you have a puddle of copper in your forge.
Yeah, right.
As it happened last week.
Yeah. With that, just a question came to mind. Obviously you mentioned that it's much slower in the oven, but like, what were the actual forging? Like, how long did you actually have, and how long did you have to wait between heats?
Of course, the bigger the bar, the longer it takes. So I think I put it into the heat treating oven after I forged the end, after I welded the ends to it, so make the first billet. Yeah. And I think I had lunch in between.
Right.
Yeah. So
I think it took slow process.
I think it took half an hour, maybe longer,
to get up to
first
heat again.
Heat. Yeah. Right. And after that, the thinner the material gets, the faster it is. So I was able to forge it down pretty fast, since we have a big ass power hammer and the mill. So the first first 2 heats that we had were of course the longest wait, but after that, as soon as it's like under 15 millimeters, and you don't have that big window to forge anyways. You have between 1080 and maybe 900 degrees Celsius, but you can forge this stuff.
Okay.
So if you put it out, forge it, put it in again, so it still has some heat left.
Yeah.
The waiting between is shorter.
Okay. Is there anything special, particular, that we haven't covered so far in the video that you'd like to mention about this knife?
Everything. Now, as I've said before, this is actually one of the pieces that, like, when people ask me what stuff do you want to do, what's the thing that you really want to do and not just have to do because it pays the bills and stuff, crazy stuff like this. So going full in on one project, doing all the crazy stuff in my mind, in my head, that I had for the last few years.
Yeah.
And also YouTube was a little help with that because I want to show off what we can do. And so I thought, like, with this knife, it also has the title of the video, but well, this was finished, is my best chef's knife ever. Right. And I think it really is.
If you want to see Martin actually making this knife, check out his YouTube channel. Is it 2 videos? In
3 actually.
3 video series that he made on the creation of this piece. So you can see all of that stuff with the heat treat oven and the Mokume-gane and the handle construction, the whole lot. It's actually a really good video, so yeah, go check that out. This piece will be available on Modern Cooking soon. Thanks for joining us, and we'll catch you on the next one. Bye bye. Yeah. Ciao mein.
Go like and subscribe to Modern Cooking. Audio clap.